You are listening to the Foamy Heads Podcast, where we discuss craft beer and anything else that accompanies a glass.
It is the Foamy Heads. We're on the mics tonight with Mitch and Rich. We're hanging out. I think I'm at home. Mitch, you're still at work. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
The usual.
Yeah. I don't think you're ever going to get a chance to go home before like 6 or 7, dude.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
There's worse things to complain about.
Yeah.
At least I get to drink.
This is true. Yeah, you've got a pretty sweet setup there. You can kind of close the office down at the end of the day and enjoy happy hour. I have to go home to do that. So, fun night tonight. We've got planned. We've got Byron from Proper Sake, which is in Nashville. So we're going to be drinking some sake type beers tonight. Byron, welcome, man.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This has been fun. We were looking forward to this for a while, just to kind of tee us up and kind of get us ready. Mitch is more of the sake guy. I actually was introduced to it from Proper Sake. I actually had not had much, if any, before until Mitch and I actually went down to your spot, and I had my first flight of sake there. So that's kind of what turned me onto it, and I was really excited to have that. And then now we're sitting here with two proper sake beers in front of us too. So I'm excited to get into that tonight as well. So we appreciate you jumping on this the show with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that time we showed up there, it was during the winter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was a space heater there at the time.
Yeah. It was cozy, man. We were able to get the flight of sake, which was unheard of in Nashville. And even rarer still was I think you still offer it today, aged in oak barrels, the sake. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, the Smoky Mountain.
Smoky Mountain. Rightfully named too. So, yeah, and that became a quick favorite on my I'm trying to think of the word for it. It went blank. I need a drink to get these.
Normally we're drinking. I haven't even had anything to drink yet tonight, so I'm feeling I'm a little uptight right now. But Byron, just kind of kick us off a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Proper Sake, when you guys actually started, and kind of take us through just kind of a high level while we're getting our beers ready about how long you've been in the game and what kind of inspired you to start this whole process.
Yeah. So my background is in culinary, and specifically fermentation has kind of been the most important part of that for me. So all the places I've worked over the years, I've tried to incorporate some element of fermentation. I started making sake about 10 years ago, basically because I had premium sake for the first time while living in New York, and really just changed my mind about everything. And then on top of that, I was already working pretty closely with koji as a fermentable. So it was a natural progression. And specifically when I moved back to the South, knew that if I was going to be able to have cool sakes of the very specific varietal that I usually tend to favor, it was going to have to be made in-house. So I started the process in about 2016. I think we got our first shipment out late that year. And then 2017 was just distribution. 2018, we opened the tasting room. And then the last 2 years, we've slowly been adding items to the catalog and trying to work out of the pretty small space we have to keep things interesting. So specifically, beer-wise, we started doing the Koji Gold last year, kind of as a nice sidecar, and also as a nod to Japanese lagers paired with full-flavored namasakes, which is another favorite of mine. And one of my favorite parts about going to Japan is sitting down in an izakaya and having not one but two beverages. The ultimate pairing. I wanted to be able to offer that, and we started doing that I guess later last year in full production, and we brew that at another facility that's much larger than ours. And so, yeah, once COVID started and we got kind of shut down, really forced me to go back to the drawing board and allowed me some free time, if you will, to mess around with different ferments. And as much as I love sake, I also love craft beer and have been following the trajectory of all these amazing breweries over the past decade as well. And yeah, this has been a great opportunity to work around and try some new beers, especially kind of co-fermentation items too, where you're really blurring the lines between sake and beer.
Huh. Yeah, I was curious what your go-to craft beer would be. From the styles I've seen, it's been a lot of like hop forward kind of beers. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been all over the place. I love saisons, and I know that those are not always people's favorite. It's a specific aroma and flavor profile. And I know that a lot of people love IPAs in this moment, so I certainly wanted to see what I could do with koji as an ingredient, and then also highlight some of my favorite hop styles. So Mosaic, Sriracha, Nelson Sauvin. Those are ones that I tend to err towards. For one, because I have a robust supply of Sriracha hops, just because it's a Japanese hop. And Mosaic, because I think it is super dreamy with sake, which is kind of how I ended up with our Double India Pale Sake way back when. Was I wanted to figure out how to introduce that super tropical, funky flavor profile to the sake. But yeah, I also have a really soft spot in my heart for super crisp Japanese style and German lagers. So, your Hallertau and Saaz hops, really, I try and keep those around as well.
Nice.
That's awesome, and I like that. I like the adventure you went into, kind of what hops you prefer to put in and what you favor when you're putting beers together. I kind of want to jump over to that actually real quick, if that's cool.
Sure.
Mitch, we've got 2 beers on tap tonight, or actually in bottles, right?
Right.
I think we're doing 2 from Proper Sake. We've got the Koji Monsuta, and then we've got the Double Monsuta as well. I'm assuming I'm going to be leaning heavily on Byron on this one, but I assume one is an IPA and the one is kind of a double IPA. Am I in the ballpark on that, just based on the name?
So you're close. So the Double Monsuta is a double IPA.
Yeah.
The Koji Monsuta is also a double IPA. Only the difference is that the grain bill is entirely Koji. So.
Okay.
Interesting.
Every bit of starch is gelatinized koji.
Nice.
I am very curious to get into this one and how you're able to blend koji sake and beer together. I'm pouring mine right now just to kind of see what it looks like.
Heck yeah.
Right off the bat, that nose, it's I'm not the sake expert by any means, but I can smell it's very heavily on the nose, and it's a good introduction for me because I'm a big IPA guy, and I think I've had Mitch. We split a double IPS, I think.
The Double India Pale Sake.
Yeah, I think we had that last week, and that was super tasty. I'd actually never had a beer and sake, something from you guys like that, or just in general. And that was a really interesting. It was real fruity and super like sweet on the end, but it was real hoppy in the beginning. It was was wild, man. My mouth was confused for a minute. I wasn't quite sure what I was drinking, but I definitely enjoyed it.
That was the guava one.
Oh, is that what it was? It was the guava.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was exactly what you were talking about, plus the addition of some basically caramelized guava. So the dips, the Double India Pale Sake, started, I guess, probably 2 years ago when I was messing around with hops, but not really doing beer necessarily, or at least IPAs. And so I wanted to figure out how to introduce hops in a way that also mimics some of the elements of sake fermentation. So just a quick breakdown of lactic acid and Shubo yeast starters is that you're trying to build some kind of lactic acid content to protect the batch as you're growing the yeast and adding the starch and all that. So there are natural ways to do that, and then there are less natural ways to do that. One is by adding commercial lactic acid straight in, and the other is to propagate those naturally. So what I do is propagate naturally because it allows you to incorporate a lot of other interesting, microorganisms into the brew and really diversify and make the flavor more complex. But simultaneously with that, hops obviously are used to protect beer in a similar way. So I essentially extracted the hops in a way to use that as a stand-in for the lactic acid. And in doing so, it turned the sake pink, but also gave it a really nice aroma, some sharpness, some of those acidic notes that you probably noticed. But I've always thought that specifically the hops that I used in that one were kind of guava forward. So to add fresh guava to it was also kind of a fun little to do last 2 weeks ago, whenever that was.
Yeah. It a couple friends in New York got it, and they nothing around them compares to it. So they were just blown away by it. I don't think I actually told them exactly what it was. They just opened it up, dove right in, and they want more. So it's just they're like, and why Tennessee? And, it's I know you've told the story several times, and you even covered it a little briefly at the beginning here. So it's just wild that you stuck around. But
exciting too.
Yeah,
because we get that here in landlocked Tennessee. We get a chance to have stuff like this. It's
yeah. Growing up, I unfortunately was like a really weird kid that got into the 90s anime, like horror genre, and grew up into and with Neon Genesis Evangelion and all that. It was just fucked up shit. It was anime, going past a certain kind of standard for animation at the time. And it was just, I couldn't get any of that here in Tennessee. It was Windows 95, 98, and I did not have cable, so the torrenting was real on that. Took forever, took days. So, it was just one of those things growing up. It was like, why isn't there a Suncoast here? And, cut to the teenage years, sake was just barely on the shelf. I don't really remember what was even there, but when it comes to like sakes, the ones that always caught my attention were the most vibrant glassware, which just seems odd, that's another like subject matter to get into, but I'm going to dive into this beer. I've been staring at it, and I had some of the foam. I haven't actually drank it yet.
Yeah, I've been drinking it already. I'll take another sip though, Mitch.
That nose is cool.
Drinking the double first.
Which one?
Shoot, I cracked open the Koji Monsuta.
That's what I did too. So we're on the same page.
But yeah. I don't know if that's the one I should have opened first.
No, I think it's great. I think you're gonna find that they're playing in the same sandbox.
Okay.
Yeah, the double Monsuta really was the inspiration for the Koji Monsuta because I used two types of Koji and I used a DIPA style. So that was where the double came from. And then I was like, well, what happens if I just don't use any traditional grain and go all in with Koji? So it's a very similar recipe, just without any Pilsner malt on the grain bill.
That should be interesting. I'm looking forward to differentiating between the two to see what I can taste, because I'm assuming I'll be able to taste a slight difference between the two, but I don't know. This one's got an interesting lift on the end.
Yeah.
To me as I'm drinking it. So first off, the nose. I can smell the sake in it, and it's tasting it. It definitely starts out as an IPA. Again, I'm not the expert on any of this, but it's a very smooth transition from a very bitter, hoppy and style beer straight into what's kind of appears to be like a fruity, kind of low alcohol flavored finish that is the sake that I've come to that I've come to drink. Just real easy drinking, real smooth at the end.
I really like that light bitter lift that it keeps around. That after several I guess drinks of it, it's nice, it's pleasant. It almost reminds me of kind of like the dryness after sake is super dry or something of that sort. I've enjoyed sake, but when it comes to talking about it, I don't know. So if I'm out of line, put me in alignment.
Please correct us, Byron.
Yeah.
Come on down to the alignment shop. Well, so the koji itself is definitely part and parcel to creating some snap and some bitter and some dryness at the end, especially barley koji, which seems to have this really like almost kind of champagne-y aroma.
Champagne. That's the word I was looking for, actually. Champagne.
Yeah. And so it also continues to dry out over time, especially during the ferment, because the enzymes in the koji actually deconstruct more of the whatever starch is remaining that maybe the alcohol isn't getting to, and creates this enzymatic dryness. The Japanese nomenclature is karakuchi for super dry style beers, sakes, whatever it is, karakuchi style. So like a Kirin super dry or a sake super dry would be karakuchi style.
Okay.
Most Japanese lagers are on the drier end.
I remember, Orion was one that I really sought after here for a while.
It's wonderful. I love Orion. Or Odeon.
Yeah.
Depends who you ask. I've been taking the task on that before. But
yeah, I just kind of, I've given up trying to pronounce things right being in the South. I'll take a correction and I'll run with it. But
people ask me all the time, like, how do you pronounce sake? And it's like, well, like, what feels good to you? Because I'm so happy that you're talking about it. And I don't want you to feel uncomfortable and feel like you have to not talk about it because you can't pronounce it right.
Right.
Call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wine, if you want to call it rice wine, you can.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point because Nashville, I mean, I know Proper Sake is the only sake bar in Nashville. I'm assuming it's the only one in Tennessee, unless more have popped up recently. But your point about calling it like it is, we don't have a lot of this available to us. So stunting communication and stunting conversation like that could be detrimental. Go ahead, Mitch. I'm sorry.
Well, just on the same thing, like if you go into a liquor store, the sake sections are typically super low or tight to a corner near the wine, out of the way from most of the popular liquors. So it's just something that, as far as when I talk to people about it, especially close family, they're all bourbon, whiskey, beer, and you bring a sake, they don't know what to think. And when they taste it, it's the only way you can explain it to some people is rice wine. And the wine is like, for whatever reason, a turnoff with some men. You know what I mean? It's just weird. I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm like, it's just another thing that you can drink, man. What's the problem? But
it's true. And it's like, in fact, if you're trying to hype up the masculinity of it, like it's a pretty aggro beverage. It's the highest natural ABV of any fermented beverage. There's some arguments that can be made, but I won't go down there. But you have what can be up to a 22-23% alcohol beverage that doesn't have any distillation. It doesn't have any special adjuncts. It's just rice. So you want to talk about something that'll push the envelope, like put that whiskey, have some sake.
Yeah.
To your point, though, a lot of the sakes that are available especially in the South, just not great, and a huge turnoff for people, especially when their first experience is usually a pretty commodity style, at a sushi restaurant served hot.
Me right here. That was it. That was 100% my first. I'd go to a Japanese restaurant or whatever, and you go the typical cookie cutter, like, oh, you want the you want the typical Japanese, like, American inspired chicken meal or whatever, and it's like, oh, you order sake, and it's like, oh, do you want it hot or cold? I'm like, well, why would I want it cold? They bring it to me in this Japanese style bottle, and I pour it and I drink it, and I go, okay, so this is what sake is. And then years later, I go to somewhere like Proper Sake, and I drink it, and I go, this is not what I drank back at the restaurant that is considered the Japanese style restaurant in my area. And actually, I'll take that back, Mitch. This is kind of a funny story. We've talked about this a few times, but I actually have a freezer upstairs in my bonus room. I'm sitting there right now, and I've got a bottle of. Oh, yeah. It's a bottle of, I don't even remember what it was. Mitch is what turned. Yeah, he's got the can right there.
So it's Narutotai, the red snapper. Is it Nagori based or?
Yeah, I remember it being Nagori.
It says Ginju Namagenshu Sake.
Yeah, so that particular Narutai, if I'm not mistaken, is a Namagenshu. So it's actually pretty on par with the style that we do, and one of the few that you can get in the area. So basically, Nama means that it's unpasteurized, which is super rare in the South, especially. Yeah. And then Genshu means that it's totally undiluted. There's no water added back in. So most sakes finish in that 18 to 22 range, but most of them will then be diluted and filtered back to, say, anywhere between 13 and 15. And I believe that's also a Muroka. So it is not charcoal filtered. It's not sediment filtered. It's just the raw product. The sediment is allowed to rest and fall to the bottom, and then they pull that off, and no dilution.
Yeah.
It was awesome because we had that years. Was that before Proper Sake? I think
it would have been. It would have been 6 years ago when we had
right at about 2014.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had. I think we split probably half the bottle that night, and then I threw it in my beer freezer, whatever, just to keep it chilled. And then it kind of moved with me from my old house in Davidson County out here into Murfreesboro. And I just plugged the freezer in and kept it. And then it was like a month or so ago, I go and I open up the freezer, and there's this block of ice in the freezer where it had like melted and frozen over. But there was a little tiny hole right in the middle where I could look through, and I saw that bottle of sake just sitting there in the back. It's been sitting there for 6 years. In a freezer. And I actually went tonight. I was telling Mitch, I went tonight with like a screwdriver and a hammer to kind of chip away at the ice in that freezer to see if I could get it. I can't. It's like 7 or 8 inches thick, and I've got a bottle of sake behind this frozen layer of ice that's in my freezer. I can't get to it. But is it any good right now? That's the question.
If you ever get it out, I'd love to taste it, because that's the kind of experiment that you can't create any other way.
Okay.
So those particular full flavored, full alcohol styles, they tend to age really well. So
nice.
I also, being a fan of aged sakes, I love the depth of flavor that comes along, and typically like they start to draw out some more cacao and maybe some honey. But essentially what happens is that whatever starch is remaining, it's still continuing to break down. And it almost turns into like a super earthy umami forward sherry or something. But all that to say, that's a pretty special way to hibernate that sake. And there's been a lot of Japanese breweries lately that have been doing all these weird aging experiments where they'll take a finished product, they'll put the bottles in a crate and drop it to the bottom of the Japan Sea or whatever. Or they'll take it and put it in a cave in a mountain, or like bury it in the snow underground somewhere. So essentially what you've done,
put it in a freezer and let it ice over for 6 years.
Awesome.
Now I'm super excited. I don't want to. I'm going to deviate to the conversation. I feel like I'm being rude this whole time. Mitch and I have been talking about what we're drinking. Byron, you've got something there. What are you sipping on tonight?
So this is the last bottle of the Umami Brute, which was one of the first beers that I did during COVID, and it was a little flat because it was the it was the last bottle that wasn't enough to be full. But I thought this was a good chance to tap into it because I'm not going to judge myself about the lack of carbonation. And yeah, so this was a pale. It was done with an English style yeast, Sriracha hops again, and it also had koji in the green bill, but not full koji, and super dry because I carved it really high. Mm-hmm. So at some point it was very, very crisp.
Oh,
you mentioned it was a little on the flat side due to it wasn't a full bottle before you bottled it. I mean, like, so I homebrew. I haven't done it in years, but I homebrew and I don't have a kegging system. I'm more of a bottling guy. Maybe I haven't reached that threshold, but I have never experienced a time where a beer that I have ends up being flat because there's too much air in it or I don't fill it up enough. Is that actually something that can affect the taste of a beer if I'm not filling it up enough before I bottle it? Does the extra air actually have a negative effect on carbonation and taste overall?
Well, I wouldn't think so if you were bottle priming or bottle conditioning.
True. Okay, that's a good point.
This was pulled off of a break, so it was, essentially put in there with as much CO2 as I could fit in the bottle, but essentially having that much headspace, eventually it's not going to hold.
I gotcha.
But yeah, with a naturally bottle conditioned beer, I would think even if it was a little bit short on space, that it would probably still be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've still got the Umami Brute in the fridge.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's aged really well, and I think it's, especially that particular style of yeast, does well with some cold conditioning. Cool. And so it's been nice to taste this far down the road too. It's definitely one of the more savory beers that I've done. And that English bitters yeast really, I think, has a kind of a funky, savory note on it too.
Oh, that kind of reminds me of the. I was super impressed with the 100-day Koji Gold. Is that right? Was it 100-day age or something like that? Okay, I'm not too familiar with the process, but it's just I've had the Koji Gold, and it's the lighter spectrum of beers for my palate, and I like it. It's not exactly my most favorite thing, but it's right in alignment for when I want that super dry kind of light beer. And the 100-day lager, it was almost a whole different beer to me. And it was fantastic. I loved every bit of that one.
Yeah. Well, I guess a couple of things that made it different was that it was brewed on site and not at Fat Bottom where we do the full production.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask about that actually, where you do your brewing at.
Yeah. They have a massive rig over there, so they open to people come in and brewing over there. But this one was done, all the same ingredients, all the same recipe, but lagered for 100 days. So I guess one difference too is I don't have a centrifuge on site, so I can't clarify the beer as much as they would, which is totally fine. And actually, for the purpose of lagering for 100 days, you do want some trub in there too. So, yeah, I thought that was fun. And yeah, to your point as well, like I love a crispy beer, but it's almost more of a food thing. You're gonna want that with some food or with a sake. Unless it's super hot and you're sitting outside, maybe you need something a little crispier. But
true. Yeah, this summer was a bit too hot for me. But towards the end there, it was pretty nice. Right when you had the peach sake come out, and then the guava. Those weekends were perfect for all sorts of kind of little dinners outside and
Nice.
beverages. It was awesome.
You mentioned how COVID has kind of had to change the way that you're viewing things and kind of it forced you to adapt to stuff. How has that changed your process? It's interesting to hear that from people because the craft brewery community in general has had to get real what's the term, unique. They've had to come up with different ways because the country was shut down for weeks, basically. Like, people could not come into your establishment, which you had already established as a source of revenue. So you kind of had to get creative. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
How has that kind of changed? How have you had to get creative since this whole coronavirus thing started?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, the tap room, we closed it pretty quickly. And I had come back from Japan at the beginning of February, where they were already taking this very seriously. So I figured it was only a matter of time. So I probably even shut it down a little early. But yeah, basically we derive most of our income at this point from restaurant sales and from the on-site tap room. So when those two things went away, it became a little bit more about packaging and distribution, and in so much as we can, trying to take advantage of retail outlets. But for the most part, retail is kind of dominated by your usual suspects, especially in a time where people are looking for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I started doing the online sales and pickup. And so to make things interesting and to keep people engaged, and also to keep myself engaged, it seemed like a good idea to try and do a release every week. So definitely small batch stuff, but it's really allowed me to get back to some of my culinary and fermentation roots. It's certainly not been as lucrative, but we are doing fine and we're going to stick it out. And I've certainly enjoyed being able to continue exploring, fermentation as a vessel and sake and beer and all sorts of different, cross cultures. Really trying to figure out what happens next. We're looking at a new space as well that will hopefully have some outdoor space,
Nice.
Which seemingly is about as important as anything at this point.
Yep.
And so that'll be huge, and also have a little bit of extra space to work around. You guys have seen the shop; like it's not very big, and I share it with another guy, so it's pretty tight.
Yeah, I remember. I think you showed me where you brew briefly, and it was just a smaller square space behind the whole storefront itself, to the side or whatever. But yeah, it's almost like working on an engine at that point. You really have to get involved and squeeze around, But
Yeah,
good work, man.
thanks, man. Yeah, the brew room itself is, I think, probably a little over 300 square feet, and then the koji room is about 200 square feet. So ultimately, the tap room takes up more footprint than anything. Which I've now taken that over for packaging, but
Gotta do what you gotta do.
I got what I gotta do. And you've seen the tank there that I got.
Yes.
That's taking up most of the tap room space now.
Ah.
Yeah. So it's more important than ever that I figure out where to set that thing up.
Yeah. I do miss sitting in there with the flight. That was nice. It's something I wish I did more often. Get carried away on the day to day. It's everything goes by so quick now.
Definitely stick with me, and I'll get you there eventually. We'll have a new, better space before you know it, and hopefully things will be back to normal and we can share a beverage in person.
That'd be great.
In the meantime, I don't think you have to worry about Mitch going anywhere. I saw his fridge the other day. Actually, he posted a picture today on the Foamy Heads Instagram page where he mentioned, because today is actually National Podcast Day, which is interesting enough. It just happened to coincide. I don't think we planned that when we kind of set this up with you, Byron, but he posted a picture and it's just proper sake, just stuff. And I've been to his office before. I've seen his fridge, and he's like, Richard, my paycheck, a lot of it's going towards us these days. Like, he literally made the comment, it was like, if he just stopped brewing, I wouldn't have to buy so much right now. But the fact that he's coming out with something all the time, I feel like, right now for us, it's between, there's so many great Nashville breweries, and they're always coming out with something. Beard Irish always has something new. Living Waters has always something new. Southern Grist is always coming out with 20 beers a week that always taste great. But I think right now, just looking at Mitch's fridge, just because he's closer to Nashville than I am, I'm out in Murfreesboro, but because he spends a lot of his time in Nashville, you can see a distinct collection between Living Waters and proper sake sitting in his fridge right now. And it is insane the amount of beers and sakes that he has from you guys. It's ridiculous. It's wild.
Yeah, I stocked up on a few to age too.
I love that.
I got to remember what they were, but there was one that you had already aged 3 years, I think. So I'm just gonna.
Yeah, last week's release, which was in honor of World Sake Day, which is actually tomorrow. So this really is the perfect timing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the original Odaimoto Yamahai brews that I did.
Wow.
And those styles, specifically being full flavored, unfiltered, they have a higher acid content, so they age well. And so I drank a bunch of it right away, or sold it. But I wanted to make sure I saved some, so I saved about 7 gallons of it.
Nice.
And it's been sitting in the walk-in cooler all that time, and just getting good.
Don't tell us that.
There's still some available. Last I checked.
A couple bottles, and it comes with a holograph sticker.
Label. It's cool. I've got to figure out where I want to put it. Right now, it's just staying safe.
Well, don't be too careful with it, because I got extras for you if you want.
Awesome.
Just let me know.
All right, we'll do.
Time to get into the next one, Mitch.
Yeah, I'm ready for more.
We got the double Monsuta up on wouldn't call it on tap because it's in a bottle, but that's exactly what it is. So this is oat and rice.
Deck.
On deck. Thank you, Mitch. This is oat, rice, and koji. Not all koji. Byron, kind of give us a little bit of a breakdown again. You hinted at it at the beginning, but we've been drinking since then. So the difference between the Koji Monsuta and the double Monsuta, kind of highlight the differences for us while we're kind of setting this beer up to taste.
Yeah. So again, it's kind of the precursor to Koji Monsuta, where it's based on a DIPA style, but the double, on top of it being a DIPA, also pertains to the 2 types of koji that it has in it, which is barley and oat. So it was the first time I'd ever made oat koji, which I've made a lot of different substrates of koji for various restaurants around town or for various projects. This is the first time I've done oat. If you're going to make that style of beer, you got to have some flaked oats in there. So I figured if I was going to do that, I might as well turn those oats into koji first. And basically the process is, steaming it till you get a specific moisture content, and then inoculating it with these spores that I get from Japan, and then propagating it for about 48 hours. You get this fun, aspergillus fuzz on it. And typically speaking, that would be used to deconstruct starch. But it has a whole slew of other uses. And, really fun way to mess around with some koji spores.
Yeah. Man, mine's got a giant head on it.
Yeah, I was literally about to say there's a ridiculous amount of foamy head on this beer. I poured it. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. This is my glass right now.
Nice.
I was pretty careful with. There you go, Mitch. I was very careful to pour it, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure I got the dramatic effect pour.
Oh yeah.
When I did, and I mean, it filled up a lot faster than I was expecting, and I kind of like freaked out and put it over the side, and it like mushroomed up over my glass, and none of it spilled, luckily. But I'm kind of waiting for it to go down and looking in my bottle. I know we're on a Zoom call, so we can all see it, but
yeah,
it's got a pretty decent amount of foam just kind of sitting there right now from the time I opened it. So I don't know if I'm expecting. Half of me wants Byron to kind of break down what the taste difference is between these before I get into it, but I'm going to say no. I don't want to do that because I want to taste it first, and then I want to see if I can. Ignorance is bliss, number one, but number two, when the expert starts talking about what to expect, I'm a big cigar guy, so reading a Cigar Aficionado magazine where it's like, hey, these are the top 25 cigars of the year. This is what you can expect with each flavor. It kind of ruins your experience because you're supposed to expect those flavors, right? And then if you don't taste it, it could be psychosomatic. You could be like, oh, well, I guess I could taste that in there. Whereas if I hadn't read the description, I may never have picked up on that. So I'm actually going to ask to hold off and refrain. I want to drink this. I just can't yet. Because the foam is.
I'm with you. I think it's best when you have a blind interpretation, and then perhaps some notes on the back end to fill in any questions.
I will. Yeah. I'm gonna just straight off the bat. The smell. It smells more like an IPA to me than the Koji Monsuto does. I smelled a very champagne-esque flavor that you hit that on the head. I was trying to find the word for it in the beginning, but it was kind of very fruity and kind of dry, kind of sake-ish on the nose. This one actually, and I don't know if it was due to the aroma because I just poured this a little heavier. It could be that. This one smells a little bit more like a hoppy IPA to me, but then again, I don't know if my opinion is skewed at this point because of the way I poured it. Mitch, are you getting anything on the nose?
Nose is definitely, it's way more leaning towards our typical expectations of a beer, like on the nose profile wise. It's got that hoppy kind of nest to it, and it's maltier than just having, after having talked and drank the other one, more of a Koji presence. So this one's more mild in that aspect, and I'm really excited to get in and see what the difference is. I just, for some reason, it didn't dawn on me. Monsuta is monster, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just like looking at that. I was like, hey. I don't know why it took me this long.
What you're saying, Mitch, is you're getting smarter the more you drink. Is that what you're saying?
That's the goal, right?
Yeah. I think I'm going to jump.
Somehow along the line, when I made the first Monsuta, look at that milkshake.
Yeah. There we go.
So I guess one thing that you've noticed right away is that the head retention on this one.
Yeah.
Because it actually
exists.
Grains in it.
It looks awesome. I wish I had my studio booted out to take a quick shot of it. It's like a head in the clouds kind of thing there.
I feel like I'm looking at the beer itself. The color seems to be. Hold on a second. I need to. I'm tampering with my other glass that I had planned to save for my lightning round later on, but I want to compare the two side by side. The double looks darker. What the Koji Monsuto looks to be a little bit hazier, a little bit lighter, but the double looks to be maltier, and it looks to be a little bit more on the caramely looking side, like it's a little bit darker than the regular. I don't think it's just my light. Maybe it could be.
Oh, you have a little bit left there.
Yeah, well, I poured some into my next glass, Mitch, because on the camera I realize I look like an idiot right now because they look almost the same. But in my head, when I'm holding them up to the light, I feel like
Well, you got more volume in one than the other.
This is true.
Too.
Mitch is too smart.
The double too has more barley koji in it versus the Koji Matsuta had more rice koji in it. So the barley koji definitely darkens up the beers, which, I mean, you can see both of them too are on the darker side as well. And that's totally barley koji.
I'm going to try to bypass some of the foamy head. I mean, obviously the foam is some of the experience. You want some of that as well, but I want some of the beer in it as well. Let me see if I can get a sip out of it.
It's definitely got more malt to it.
That's good.
All right.
It's not as champagne-y. It's not as dry.
Yeah.
Byron's looking at me like I'm probably an idiot right now. I'm trying to sit here and I don't know if I'm talking facts or not. I literally just had a sip of the Koji Matsuta as kind of like to finish off my glass, and I took this afterward just to kind of get a different flavor. But this seems less dry. It seems a little bit more malty, a tad sweeter, and a little bit hoppier, but not bitter, not as bitter.
Yeah, so it had a higher starting gravity and also a higher finishing gravity. So there's definitely more residual sugar in it. Although it is slightly higher ABV, they're the same ballpark. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The double was certainly sweeter.
I don't even know what the ABV is on this thing.
That's because I didn't put it on there.
Hey.
It's a surprise.
Yeah. I've got 2 bombers of beer in front of me, expected to finish both of them. And I'm like, I still have probably a solid third of the first Koji Matsuta left. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to drink both of all of these bombers at once. I'm already feeling it. And I've only finished 2/3 of the first bomber. This is tasty, man. I really like it. The Koji Matsuta is good. Don't get me wrong. I was a big fan. It's a different style IPA than what I've had before, obviously. But this I feel like if I would have had this one first, this would have set the stage for what's going to be the Koji Matsuta, because this is to me, it's more of an IPA style. It's got a little bit of that koji, or that little bit of that sake finish on the end, but it's definitely more heavily towards the IPA, straight IPA beer, that I'm used to, which would kind of be a good stepping stone into the Koji Matsuta.
I think you're right. And one definitely informs the other. Certainly from a timeline perspective, the double was the precursor to the Koji. So
okay.
That's what led me across the path to insanity, I guess.
So doing all Koji versus not all Koji, how does that affect? Is there a difference in timing, like fermentation, and how long something like that takes, as opposed to just doing all Koji? Is there a difference in technique between the two?
Well, most of the difference in technique is on the front end with regard to extracting the grain. So it takes a lot more Koji to extract to a similar specific gravity than it does a typical malted grain. So, and part of that is because when the Koji is inoculating and taking over the grain, it's converting a lot of that starch and enzyme into the alpha and beta, enzymes that's going to use in a normal situation to ferment something or deconstruct starch. Whereas, your typical malted barley is basically full enzyme for brewing. You have less of that at the end of the Koji, at least less readily available starch.
Okay. Huh. So what?
I don't know, man. I'm thinking it over in my head. I'm trying to figure out which one I like better. I don't know if I like one better over the other. I think I just like them both for different reasons.
Yeah, they're kind of two different animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One is, and again, I keep prefacing with this, but the double Matsuta is more IPA-ish, is more kind of like a stepping stone. Me personally, so I'm not we talked with Ryan McKay at Living Waters a few weeks back, and he was very quick to find out. And I was up front with him. I'm not a sour guy. I'm not a sour beer guy. It's just not my style of beer. But he had come out with a fruited goza that we actually had that night that was really interesting. And I took a sip of it and I was like, you know what, this is actually really good. I drank the entire can and I would have another one if I had one. I actually really liked it because it was more on the lawnmower style beer side of things, and not as heavy into like the funky sourness of beers, but it was a good stepping stone into what could be a new category of beer that I may or may not want to kind of jump into at some point. I feel like the double Matsuta is that catalyst, right? Because I've never had I keep saying koji, but I guess that's true, but a sake inspired beer before until tonight, unless we want to go back to the few sips of the double India Pale Sake that I had last week, which was actually my first experience. But This is a good jump off point. I like them both for different reasons. I think I favor the double Matsuta just because I'm more of a beer guy, and that's what resonates with me at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been an interesting learning process too, because most of the IPAs that I've ever made were mostly for just personal consumption. So it's been fun to be in the real brewing space, trying to work on these things with a little more pressure, because it's not just me drinking it.
Right.
True.
But I'm definitely interested in blurring the lines as much as possible between all of the various ferments out there, because I think that's just the way we get to new and interesting beverages. And specifically sake being such an interesting production style, it's been really fun to apply that lens to brewing beer as well. And I hope that koji based beers becomes kind of a more popular thing in the future, because I think it also offers a lot of opportunity for weird different styles that we haven't even scratched the surface of.
Yeah. It's exciting seeing these few come out. So I just wonder who's going to pick it up around what you've started. Very curious.
Well, if anyone's out there listening, give me a call if you want some koji. We can talk.
Heck yeah. I heard the topic briefly on another session that you were talking to some people on, but the craft beer scene in Japan, I was actually kind of surprised that even James May, when he did his TV series, talked a bit about beer, but they were the big business. I think he started on the northern part of the whole space, the whole island. It's wild to think that I haven't kept up with time since 2019, but craft beer is still sort of you don't talk about it publicly as much, I guess. Kind of like tattooing in a way, you hide it away. If you're in the know, but if you don't, it's just kind of like, it's not as hush hush as I'm probably making it out to be, but you wouldn't want anybody getting. It's like trying to buy weed on the corner here,
It's if you know, you know.
Yeah, weed in Japan, horrible idea, because probably no one has it, but it's also super legal.
Yeah.
But as far as craft brewing in Japan goes, they've really turned the corner in that I think only within the last, I could be wrong about this, but within the last year or two, did they make it even legal for you to brew beer below a certain threshold. So as it stands now, it's illegal to make sake at home, even for personal use. And for the longest time, I think beer was the same way, and may even still be. It may be that you have to apply for a license to do small production, but there are there are very few craft brews in Japan, and much like they probably feel about the sake in America, it seems a little lacking. But the inspiration and the excitement is there, and I think that's what's important.
Right.
And there is certainly a lot more interest, and now that the legal doors are somewhat open, you're starting to see craft beer places pop up, although very few, and only in like Kyoto and Tokyo. But they are coming up, and they are like, walking through the process of every home brewer getting into, where it's like, well, I'm making a Hefeweizen now. This is my first Hefeweizen. Oh, well, this is an ESB, and here's a porter and a stout. We're just trying out all of the styles that are on the historical register and have recipes readily available, seemingly. So they haven't gotten to the point where they're really flexing on all of this history and information they have on fermentation. They're just trying to figure out how to brew it for the first time.
Going through all the styles. That's cool, though. It's a good journey.
Yeah. And I mean, prior to that, though, pretty much everything has just been some derivative of a Helles-style lager, where, you go back so far, and there were some Dutch and some German, shipmen that had set up beer shops for ship people. So the origins of beer in Japan really are just German beer, and especially dry lagers. So as far as you go back, Sapporo and Asahi and Kirin, and there are a few others that don't exist anymore, but they've just been trying to do their best interpretation of a super dry, kind of protein heavy German crisp lager. Some of those with Japanese hops, but most of them with, your typical Saaz and Hallertau.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't really think about not necessarily Germanic presence of the beer there, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. When someone told me that, because I was asking a fellow brewer of mine who also does a lot of beer, I was like, hey, I'd really love to learn more about the Japanese style lagers. Like, have you found any recipes, or have you met with anyone over there that really, he's like, just buy, Horst Dornbusch's Helles Lager book. That's it. That's what they're doing over there.
Well, shit. That's the more you know moment, I feel like. It's like,
right?
Great. Crazy.
Yeah. Byron, is there more on the horizon from a proper sake style? Obviously you guys are going to keep doing other sakes, but do you guys have stuff kind of in the works for more sake and fused style beers, or was this kind of are you toying with it now to see if it works, and if it works you're going to keep going, or is this something that you guys have said, you know what, this is something we want to do? I say I assume you have a whole production side. You may be the only employee there for all I know. I think you might be a one-man show, but is this something that you guys are doing going forward, or is this kind of an experiment on what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think it's both. As far as like widespread distribution goes, I think we'll mostly stick with, for now, the Koji Gold, and as far as beer goes, and then the sakes. But if you are local to Tennessee, especially Nashville, I'm definitely going to keep doing more beer styles, more sake styles, more small release stuff, which is really an inspiration that I've taken away from this moment in time. But my ultimate goal is that once we get into a new space and things settle down, we can keep saving our pennies and get a small canning line so that I can really start releasing this stuff into the marketplace. So, places like Craft Brewed and Woodland Wine Merchant carry these special releases. And I would love to keep doing that, but also obviously have a customer-facing space where people can taste all of these side by side, and also you'd have more access to, even more varietals. But ultimately, yeah, I will by all means continue to make sake-inspired beers, or even just inspired beers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be anything really, but continuing to blend styles of fermentation and ingredients and fermentation techniques that maybe aren't necessarily typically applied to beer. I would like to continue trying to push the envelope in that way.
I'm interested in keeping going because sake has never been something that I just gravitate towards. You know, I hear a lot of it through Mitch, and Mitch is kind of more in that aspect, and he's more into that culture. That was actually the first in the few times that I've had sake, and I've been intrigued by it, but it's never been on, like Mitch alluded to earlier, like when you walk into a beer store or liquor store or a convenience store, whatever, it's always like on the bottom shelf, or it's kind of in the back corner. I feel like it's not getting its place, you know, so to speak, because it's wild. There's a lot going on with this kind of stuff. And then you blur the lines between it and beer, and it messes with me, man, because I'm used to drinking beer, but I'm interested in the sake. So this is kind of like the perfect combination for me to try something. You know, Mitch has heard this time in and time out over and over again, but my styles of IPAs are more super West Coast, dank, real bitter kind of IPAs, or kind of go all the way to the opposite of the spectrum and do lower on the IBU, but kind of more juicy, kind of that southern, you can call it a New England style, New England hazy versus like juicy. I think those are kind of two different IPAs, but those are the two that I gravitate towards. And then you come in and you say, I'm going to take a double IPA and then I'm going to infuse it with a sake inspired setup. And I really don't know what to think now, because this is like a new style that I'm interested in, and I'm really digging it. I like the double Matsuta. I think I've made up my mind. I think the Koji Matsuta is really good. I think the double Matsuta kind of takes the cake for me because it's more of what I'm used to, but it kind of gives me a little bit of a stepping stone into the sake inspired world of you blending the lines between the two. And that's what I like about the craft beer community in general, is we're blurring the lines between what a style of beer is and another style of beer is. Like, who would have thought 5 years ago we would have had a sour IPA, or we would have had a sour stout? You know, it's not my thing, but it's becoming a thing in general. You're taking two styles of beer, like a cuvee, and you're putting them together, and you're saying this is a new style of beer, and people are latching onto it. And you're doing the same thing at Proper Sake, where you're taking sake, you know, style chemistry or tactics, and you're infusing it with IPAs, and I like it. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think part of it too is trying to create opportunities for people to cross-pollinate. So, you know, just like you're now having this experience where you have at least been forced to think about sake in some capacity because of the beer that you're drinking.
Yeah.
Well, if we can get more people to do that, then whether they end up liking sake or not, we'll make some more converts out of it. But we'll also, you know, keep doing things that are interesting and hopefully draw some attention on the way. But one way or another, the more that people are talking about sake or adjunct related beverages, the happier I am. So,
Very true.
Wonderful.
Oh God, I'm getting full.
Yeah, I really am. I feel like I don't know. Byron, are you okay to go into a lightning round, or is that something that you're not necessarily? Are you too full to be able to get into something?
Let's do this lightning round. I haven't had as much as you guys.
That's a good point. I think I'm gonna go have to take a rinse break, Mitch.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I could use a little bit of water, so
yeah,
I'll take it'll be less than 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a rinse break. We'll be right back to stay with us.
Yeah.
Man, Byron, that's awesome, dude.
All right.
This is killer, man. I'm really enjoying this double Matsuta. It's solid.
Thanks, man. Yeah. It's been nice to have some IPA around too for my personal consumption.
Yeah. I actually have my lightning round beer in the freezer in the fridge over there. In the freezer, it's the 6-year aging bottle of sake that I can't get to.
You can surprise me and hack that thing out.
I'm not playing, man. I went in with like a Phillips head screwdriver and a hammer tonight. And I started like chipping away at it. It was like 6:30 when I started, and like 6:45 came around. I was like, I got to jump online so Mitch and I can start getting ready for this thing. So I've got a hole about this big, which is like big enough to pull the bottle out, but it's not big enough to put my fat hand in, so I can't actually get to it. I'm gonna keep going out. I'm gonna keep chipping away at it. I imagine at some point I'll be able to get that out. But honestly, man, if you're serious about that, about enjoying that together, I'll keep it in there. And then when this whole thing just blows over and we're able to kind of meet in person, I know you and Mitch have met a couple of times before. I've got a newborn he's 9 months old now, but he's kind of at risk right now just because my wife is very asthmatic and he's got a lot of allergy and ear infections. So we're kind of trying to stay behind the scenes as much as possible. But when this whole thing blows over, if you're really down for that, I'll save it. And all three of us can kind of pour whatever's left in it and just kind of enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, by all means, if the spirit moves you and you want to get into it, go ahead. But if it's still remaining when things normalize, count me in for sure.
Okay. Cool. I appreciate that option.
Yeah.
Mitch, I'm going to go grab my lightning round beer. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. It's time for the lightning round where we're just basically we're drinking whatever we feel like we want to drink at this point. It doesn't necessarily have to flow with the theme of what we've been talking about tonight. Mitch, I'm going to start with you. What do you drink? What are you throwing back for your lightning round right now?
Well, I took my lightning round up one, I guess, to 11 in terms of Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
So we talked about it briefly earlier this week. You gave me this all together. It's from the Other Half Brewing.
Yep.
Not much else on the label. Oh wait, Bearded Iris and Other Half. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Okay. Hosted by Other Half. Duh. They started it. That's
yep.
Right. I'm a little flaky on the subject now. I haven't had too many all-togethers through the year. Mainly if it was on tap or something, I think I was able to get it. I think maybe Bearded Iris had one on tap.
I don't know if they had it on tap, but they were one of the first ones to release theirs, at least in the area.
So
that's how I heard about it.
Oh, okay.
Was the Bearded Iris guys were doing it, and that's when they were like, "You should do it too." I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yep.
So I reached out to Other Half. I was like, "Are you guys cool with this?" And they're like, "Yeah, everyone can do it. It's for everyone." Thanks.
Come to think of it, I think I do remember seeing. I was at. So again, I'm in Murfreesboro, but there's a liquor store, beer store up where I am, and there is an altogether sake beer. Oh, I knew Mitch had it. I knew he was going to have it in his hand right there. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put them together and side-by-side taste on them.
Nice.
So ours is essentially the dips, the Double India Pale Sake. So not carbonated. It doesn't have any grain bill to it. It's just sake fermented with hops. Mm-hmm. But the difference was that I used the hop bill that Other Half put out for their basically, free form, open source recipe. It's
That
still
should be
sake fully, except with hops in it.
Nice. I'm excited to see how they go together. If they
Damn, now I wish
if
I
they
picked
do.
up one.
But that's
actually
going
gonna
to be mine.
Tomorrow, Mitch. Tomorrow's Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thursday's typically my beer run day because it's right by my work. I'm gonna run by tomorrow and see if they still have some. If they do, I'm gonna pick one up.
Nice. Where do you get your beer in Murfreesboro?
Stones River Total Beverage. It's right off Thompson Lane.
For sure.
They have. Oh, I'd say over the last probably year, they have really upped their game in terms of what they're getting in. I think they realized at some point that craft beer not only is here to stay, but it is definitely the catalyst to sales, and so they kind of start focusing on it. And it's ridiculous the amount of beer that they get. And just because I go there a couple of times a week, I've kind of figured out when they get new beers in. It kind of seems to be like Thursdays and Fridays is when they get their distributions. So I know that if I show up Thursday, of course I could show up Friday and get it all at the same time. But when I show up Thursday, that's when most of them come in. Yeah. And I can pick up my different styles of beer for the week.
Yeah.
I've got actually for my lightning round, Mitch, I also have a bearded iris. This is interesting. This is actually a V latte from Bearded Iris. So I'm taking kind of a different approach. You're going sake and styled beer. I'm going actually imperial oatmeal stout. But the interesting thing about this one is this is the original V latte that they released way back many years ago. So they always do, they're always working with different coffee companies to come up with their V latte inspired beers. This one, and I don't even remember when it came out. This was the first release of V latte. So DJ, who's a co-host with us from time to time on the show, is not a big fan of coffee inspired stouts. So he picked up a 4-pack. So I actually have 2 of them sitting in my fridge right now, actually in my beer fridge. This is the original V latte that he picked up many, many years ago, and he just never got around to it. And so he gave them to me. So I'm toasting the DJ on this one. This one is probably a good 5 years old at this point. No, because Bearded Iris they just released their 4-year anniversary. This might be around 3 years old.
That's a flex, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a deep cut. That is.
I'm not playing tonight. Byron, are you sipping on something for the lightning round?
Yeah, absolutely. So
kind of walk us through it.
To get had a few of those 3 Floyd's Alpha Kings in the fridge.
Oh, yes. I love Alpha King. I like 3 Floyds.
Before you get too excited, my wife drank the last one while I was up here. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed what is arguably an even more special sake. It's a 20-year-old sake.
Oh, wow.
I brought this back in February when I got back. But
that looks nice.
The brewery is called Ono, and it is from Fukui, and it is a super special sake that I just kind of wandered across. And there's a handful of retail stores around the country that you over time figure out their location and just go in and bring a box and trust them to send you whatever. And it's like,
oh, that's cool.
They know what I want. They know I want old stuff. They know I want, wacky Yamaha styles. And this one, we got to taste when we were there. It's unbelievable.
Oh man,
so you're drinking that.
Nice color to it too, man.
Yeah, this is what happens to sake as it ages. That glucose actually caramelizes, so it starts to brown. And most aged sake is stored at room temp or is allowed to fluctuate in the uncontrolled temp situation throughout the years. So it has a nice ride, and it's a slow ebb and flow of temperature. But most Japanese people don't care that much for aged sake. So there are very few breweries that do it, and the ones that do sell it for a song, basically. I think this bottle was like $15.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
God.
Why is that?
Definitely.
Why is there not a desire or a need for just aged style sakes in that culture?
I think for one, because most of the youth culture is so interested in non-sake related products like whiskey and beer and French and Italian wines. That sake is kind of on the back foot anyways, but most of the sake styles that are being enjoyed at this point are very fresh daiginjo, super refined styles that are definitely on the drier, fruitier side. Whereas something like this is, I mean, it might as well be drinking whiskey. It's wacky. And
Wow.
It wouldn't be out of tune to put a nice cube,
Well, I was excited that you were drinking the Three Floyds. I'm more excited that you decided to go with this instead. So your argument was valid when you're like, before you get too excited, Richard, this is what I found along the way. So that's what I'm excited. That looks really good. I didn't know sake could actually look like that. I know, we're going to be posting the audio, not necessarily the video, but you held that up to the camera just a couple of minutes ago, and it looked like whiskey. Like it was kind of that dark caramelized. Not quite as dark as whiskey, but it kind of looked like it was on its way. I've never seen sake look like that before. The sake that I've had in, previous years and weeks and whatnot, and probably the one sitting behind that ice shield is super cloudy, and kind of more of an opaque whitish style. That's what I know sake as. So when you held that up and it was more of a caramelized dark color, that was interesting to me because I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Well, and so if that Naruto tie that you have in there is in fact an Nagori style, so cloudy, I don't even know. I've never had an aged Nagori. They definitely don't do that very often. But I've certainly never come across it, so that'll be pretty interesting.
I wonder if it's got any different color to it.
Well, Mitch, that's what I was planning on doing the whole time. I was planning on aging that thing the whole time.
Yeah.
That way
It's all according to plan.
I'm not playing, man. That ice is like 8 or 9 inches thick. I just have to get through it.
We'll have to power drill it.
Yeah, I've made a good dent with it. So all I have to do now is just take the back end of a hammer and just kind of like start clawing it out, and then I'll be able to get to it. But you're right. I think so. Again, I come from Nashville area, and now I live out in Murfreesboro with my family. But we bought this 6 years ago, and it was just when I was kind of learning and getting into sake. I've never had a good sake before, other than like going to a restaurant and like, oh, you should get this and you should get it hot. And Mitch actually said, if you drink a good sake, you can drink it cold. And that was new to me. I've never had that experience before. You could have it either way. Obviously, it just depends on your preference. So then, he said, this is a good one to start, to go find. And we found it that day. So we bought it. And I think, Mitch, you and I actually drank half of it when I was in Nashville at the time. And then I just kept it in my freezer. And then over time, when I just never really kept up with it. And then I moved, so I turned off the fridge and I moved it across town and plugged it in. So whatever was melted kind of froze back up and to become the ice wall that is the freezer now. And now it's stuck behind there and I haven't been able to get to it yet.
Yeah. But when I ran across the Naruto tie, it blew me away because we haven't really had that many cloudy, unfiltered sakes here. And at least I hadn't seen them or went to the right place. And oftentimes the people I knew around me always got the hot sake, which is just Gekikon, warmed up. And if they got something like Junmai or paid the $14 to $20 for a bottle, they'd bring it out. And that's typically chilled or something. So it's like, I started at that point looking at the various grades of sake and where they come from and why and all that. So I talked up the red snapper a lot when I had it and found it in the most random place in Hermitage, some just liquor market. Their distributor just handed them 50 vials of it or whatever these bottles are called. And we picked up probably 5 total that day. And you took 2, I took 3, and sold 1 to another friend who was a fan of. We grew up together liking Japanese stuff, so we were super impressed to even get a metal canister like this that you can't crush. Yeah.
And even still in Tennessee, like it's a rare sake to come across. I know that they had pretty wide distribution for a while, but I haven't seen any of those around in a little bit.
Yeah, I know Total Bev has a connection because they've got the other sakes that distributor provides. So they even have a booklet that has this can in it, but it's not on the shelf. Like, so they pretty well tell me every time I go in there in Murfreesboro, if you want it, they'll order it. So yeah. I'm assuming there's at least a small channel somewhere around, but yeah, I need more of it. It's just cool to have on the shelf, really.
Byron, is there anything you're allowed to allude to at this point in time? I'm sure you guys have had stuff that's kind of in the works right now. Is there some sort of, whether it be detailed or not detailed, of stuff that you guys are looking towards in the future that we can look forward to picking up at your spot?
Yeah. Well, this may not be that exciting, but I've been working with a lot more house cultures regarding lactobacillus and pediococcus. So souring in different ways that aren't necessarily traditional, but especially as it pertains to sake, because you don't really do that. But working with different koji styles, some that also have souring capabilities, but also using as many of the wacky bugs that I can get from our yeast and bacteria guy, Jeff Mello over at Bootleg Biology, to just mess around with. And so I've got several what I'm probably going to deem to be Japanese style wild ales running right now. I've got another kind of cross-culture tapache project going. So I basically kind of built my own SCOBY and introduced yeast so that it would actually ferment to become alcoholic. Nice. But basically doing a tapache with some koji and this kind of self-inoculated SCOBY, which has all sorts of wild pediococcus and lactobacillus cultures in it. That'll definitely give it some more sour element. I'm super excited about that. And my wife is a big fan of sours, so she, I hope, is super excited. But so the Momo shoe, which Momo means peach in Japanese, was kind of a nod to her. Her name's Monica, but I call her Momo.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool.
So she appreciated that one on multiple levels, but I definitely would like to keep doing more of that. And with the weather cooling down, perhaps some heartier beverages in the stout and porter style, with some of our other more savory ferments. Potentially like a miso porter is something I'm looking at.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. But when I got that massive tank a few months ago, I also got another smaller tank to work around on some small stuff. So I do have a bunch of new yeast cultures coming in from Japan that I'm super excited about. And these are some of the more esoteric, lesser available styles, which will be all over the map, I'm sure. But can't wait to get those.
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
That'd be a good time.
More. Yeah. Not tonight. I can't.
You've had too much beer. I've got two open bombers here, and I think I've got half of the double Matsuta left, and I've got about a third of the Koji Matsuta, and I don't want to let these things go to waste. I'm going to try my damnedest to try to finish these tonight. I really am.
You got growlers?
I need something to preserve it, but I feel like I've opened it, so I need to finish it. Like,
True.
you know, kind of circling back around and closing out final thoughts between the two. Mitch, I'm going to ask you next, but I think between the two, I think the double Matsuta, the Koji Matsuta is interesting for me because it kind of has that champagne dry lift. The double Matsuta is more of an IPA malty style that I'm used to with that sake style finish that I've now know that I like. And so I think between the two, the Koji Matsuta is really good. The double Matsuta is great. So I think out of the two for the night, my favorite is going to be the double Matsuta. So that's what I'm going with. Mitch, if you had to pick one of the two that we drank tonight, which one are you going with?
I really enjoyed the all Koji.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It was,
we do that all the time. Have you noticed that? We do that all the time. There's always a set of beers that we try, and Mitch and I differ completely on those, and that's what I love about this whole community.
Yeah, the all Koji is it's brand new to me, so I was just super bright about it. You know, it was a new experience. I want more variations of that, and the other one's very good too. If I was into having more of a lean towards beer, probably that one. But the Koji it's a whole different animal when it comes to that flavor that you did with that one. So I really, it was awesome. It almost tickled the sour scene. You know what I mean? It had that effervescence kind of for a lighter sour in my mind, but because I'm not big on, I really don't know my place with sours. I did a Funk Fest a while back, bottle share. It was when Yazoo did their very first, Embrace the Funk.
Yeah.
And people brought insane funk beers. Like one it punched you into defeat within an ounce pour. Like it was insanely funky. I can't remember the name of it, but it had like a real black metal kind of label to it and stuff. Like it was threatening by appearance alone. So it lived up to the label. Everything else seemed pretty nice. They all had their own tardiness. The funk was there. Some of it was a bit rotten tasting at times, but because there's just all these flavors back to back from the bottle share. So I really don't know what I had, but there was that one that just threw me off completely for a few minutes. But with the sours we've been having recently in the past couple of years, they're tamer. They have more of a direct approach to what their flavor profiles are to be, not just super funky. They have the marketing's there with them, so you already know kind of what you're getting into. But the Koji's still relatively new to me, and that beer just brightened my day. So
thanks, man.
points to that one for me.
Awesome.
But yeah,
Byron, you didn't. You were drinking sake all night tonight, and then you kind of mentioned what you were drinking during the lightning round. But it's gonna be different because you didn't drink what we drank tonight. But the Koji Matsuta and the double Matsuta, do you have a preference between the two? I understand that your opinion is going to be a little biased because you created the two, but surely you have a flavor profile that you prefer over another, like you have a beer that you prefer to drink. What is your style between those two? Do you typically go towards the Koji or the Koji Matsuta, or do you go towards the double Matsuta?
You know, I think it depends on the occasion. Specifically, I was really excited to be able to pull off the Koji Matsuta because I didn't know how that was going to work.
Sure.
For one, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to derive enough gravity from just Koji to be able to make a beer. So I think I appreciate that. I probably would land in that direction just because I spend so much time around Koji that it's a very familiar aroma and flavor profile, especially from a culinary perspective. So it certainly was the more interesting of the two, but at the same time, I can't get enough bearded iris. I can't get enough Southern Grist. To be able to make a beer that was a little bit closer to what those guys do, and then not as good, but hopefully in the same ballpark, that was also really entertaining to me. And I think it's a time and place situation.
Mm-hmm.
I would suspect, as Koji does with most pairings, like I think it makes it a very food friendly beverage. But the double on its own is probably more of a drinker by itself.
Mm-hmm.
I know that just skirted the question entirely, but
no, not at all. It depends on the situation. I totally get that, and there might be a time with, depending on what I'm eating, the Koji Monsuta might actually take precedence over the two. And if I can jump back real quick to something that you mentioned, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you're not drinking your stuff that you're creating and you're drinking something, whether it's around Nashville or if it's around the surrounding state or whatever, what craft beer are you drinking if you're not drinking your own stuff? Because I would imagine at the end of the day, you like your own things. You're not going to put out something that you don't like personally, but you have to have a palate for something else as well. What are you drinking when you're not drinking your own stuff?
Yeah, that's very fair. And for the most part, like I don't drink a lot of my stuff because I do it in such small quantity that I'm super protective of it and don't want to waste it on myself.
Gotcha.
But to that end, as far as the local producers go, like I mentioned, Southern Grist and Bearded Iris are both incredible breweries and also just wonderful friends that are very forthright with information and help as far as it pertains to business and questions. It's been wonderful to have them as friends and as brewers in town. Back when Smith and Lentz was open, well, I guess they're getting back into it, but I really loved hanging out there. I love Eastern European style beers, so them being one of the few people really touching on that was really nice.
Sure.
They're being lagers or they're crispy pilsners or Czech style lagers. I think that's incredible. As far as getting just outside of the state goes, I love the burial stuff.
Oh, I love burial beers.
Yes.
Asheville, North Carolina, represent.
Yeah.
I got to go to Asheville on an outdoor holiday. It's the one thing I've really done during COVID. And me and the family went and just kind of stayed in the woods, but popped back into town to go to burial. We went to the forestry camp.
Yep.
Had a really nice meal outside. But also tasted all of the beers that they were doing at the moment. And I think it's fantastic what they're doing, and I love, on top of everything, their branding and also their interest in kind of wild fodder style ferments. Three Floyds obviously is super cool. But as far as like major breweries go, I know they're a big kid, but I'm always pleased with the consistency of Brooklyn stuff. So the Brooklyn Pilsner is one of the crispiest beers on the market. The Brooklyn Defender IPA, I think, is one of the weirdest, most interesting mass market IPAs I've had. I find myself, especially because a lot of our beer stores locally have the 12-pack, the mix pack, with a lot of their stuff. And it has the Bel Air Sour for the wife. She loves that.
Gotcha.
Last thing local, pseudo-local, I love what Wiseacre does. I think the Tiny Bomb is another inspiration as far as crisp beers go. And I love the regular pale that they do. It's not too hoppy. It's also plenty hoppy. And it's just Mosaic, which I also admittedly am a fan of. But it's a super crushable beer that has a nice, like 5.5% alcohol content. It was perfect during the summer, and I suspect it'll be really great for fall too.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because we've talked with like Ryan from Living Waters previously, and he's coming out with stouts and IPAs. He'll have either waterfall beers or river beers, whether it's stouts or whether it's IPAs. But at the end of the day, he just prefers a nice Pilsner. And it's interesting to hear you say the same thing, because you mentioned that you're like, a hoppy Pilsner or a regular Pilsner is just what I prefer. And all these breweries and you guys are included that are coming out with all this stuff, having that is all great. Sometimes you just want a Pilsner. And Mitch, I know, has been getting into those lately. Southern Grist had like hoppy or like Honey Crisp, or I'm trying to remember, Mitch.
Hoppy Crisp?
Hoppy Crisp, yeah.
Hoppy Crisp, there's the Southern Crisp.
Yep.
Did a really great job.
Yep.
Especially as a brewer too, like, even though those are the styles of beers that come off as kind of the most commodity, they're actually the hardest to make, and they take the longest to make. So it's kind of frustrating that those are commoditized in a way that you can't sell them for as much as the IPAs, because they actually end up taking way more time and effort. Just with the log and everything.
Well, there's nowhere to hide, right?
Right, and that's the thing too. Like it really is. It's kind of a passion project, because not only do you have to spend more time and effort on it, if you fuck it up, everyone knows. You can't just put some hops to cover it up.
Yep.
It requires a tight profile.
Yeah. Why do they have to be cheap? That is weird. That is weird.
I suspect it has something to do with that being, the Budweiser, Miller, Coors style of choice.
Yeah.
They've figured out how to monetize it and brew so much of it at a time that particular style now is just, it's commodity.
Yeah.
But hopefully that changes, and hopefully people continue to push the envelope there. We'll see.
Well, there is something to be said about that, because being able to take a regular Pilsner, I for one, am not that big of a Pilsner guy, and I probably fall into that category of, that just tastes like every other macro style brewery that creates beer. And Mitch is like, but Southern Grist, they've got, they've got this beer, and they've got that beer, and they've got these Pilsners. And I'm like, I haven't had it.
Craft craves.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't had it before, but like, I'm sure it's good. But, and the same thing happened when we were talking, a couple weeks back about this subject. It's like, there's nowhere to hide with Pilsners. Your game has to be on point. Your profile has to be wrapped up tight, because like you just said, Byron, you can't just, the beer doesn't taste good, let's just throw some hops on top of it and then we'll just make it an IPA, or let's do this and that'll kind of mask the skunkiness of the flavor. Your profile has to be on point with a Pilsner, otherwise you have a bad beer. So it's actually harder to brew something like a Pilsner, but that's not what people are looking for right now. So it's a very interesting and unique profile and style of beer. I just haven't had it. I haven't had it recently, and it seems like not a lot of people are making them. But when they do, especially craft beer communities, it's always really good. Southern Grist just knocks it out of the park every time with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have a soft spot too, because one of my first restaurant jobs, one of my first influential restaurant jobs was at an Austrian restaurant, and the amount of esoteric Eastern European beers that I'd never heard of that they had was unbelievable. And so to taste all of these, like, multi-hundred-year-old breweries doing their thing side by side really informed the difference between Czech style and Viennese and German style and Helles versus, draft import style. The nuances are subtle, but also they're there. And to be able to taste the way that the Eastern Europeans have done it for however long is pretty informing too. Anyways, if you get a chance,
yeah, that'd be
wonderful stuff out there. If you find if you're in a city that has an Eastern European beer hall or even German style beer hall, and it's a special thing. I'm thinking specifically of one of my favorite places called Radagast Beer Hall in Brooklyn.
Gas beer hall. Okay.
Huh.
When things open up, if you find yourself up that way, what a
I'm
place.
for it, just to take a look.
Yeah.
You talking about the Brooklyn beer, it just made me think of Milton Glaser this year.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah, just crazy. So much bad this year. And that's one of the bad, but
Yeah,
no, he knocked that logo out of the park.
he really did. And it's not a great read, but the Brooklyn Beer Book,
Oh yeah.
if you're in the industry, it's interesting. If you were just a passerby, I wouldn't recommend it. But I think you guys might get a kick out of it.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a whole chapter on the logo and working with Milton Glaser and how much they hated it. And when he explained it to him, he was like, "You guys are idiots. I've created something that's iconic, and I think I know about that, and you don't. So trust me on this." And they're like, "All right." It's like, here we are with all of the craft beer noise, and it's like it's still one of the most iconic labels out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Sure.
he nailed it.
Yeah, he did. Oh, gosh.
Byron, we can't thank you enough, man.
Yeah, it's already been 2 hours.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. Goodness.
It's ridiculous. This is awesome, man. Honestly, just being able to sit down and talk to somebody in this industry is humbling for us because, we're at the end of the day, we're just beer consumers that are looking for something good. And being able to say, in times like this, when whether we're stuck at home or if we're kind of limiting the places that we go to during these trying times, there's people like you guys that are out there that are able to continue creating this stuff and helping us. It sounds bad, but helping us get by during these times because it gives us something to connect with other people too. And something new to try, because when we're stuck at home or when we're going to the office and then back home and we're limiting the places that we go, it's monotony, right? And being able to try something new is advantageous to people like Mitch and to people like myself. So we can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing, and please keep doing it. We're going to keep spending our money at your location. Just please keep doing it because it's guys like you that are helping us get through these times.
Well, to that end, I'm incredibly humbled also, and thank you guys for helping me keep the lights on over here. I'm also a beer consumer, and it's also been a wild ride, and I'm excited to be able to do something like this. So
Sure.
Thanks very much.
That's awesome. Mitch, any closing thoughts?
No, just a huge thank you to beer and personality.
It's good to have somebody on the show that has personality and that's willing to talk about this kind of stuff. And Byron fits that bill to be able to, because being able to just come on and talk about beer is one thing, but being able to, we're not, although we are interested in your background and your life and stuff, the focus is on the beer, and the rest of it kind of comes into play as we start talking and this kind of unfolds. So it's always interesting to talk about the backgrounds of this beer and then learn about your history and what got you to this point to begin with, because that is super important and it's critical, right? Especially during these times, because history and stuff like that is what keeps you going. It's not just brewing beer. It has to be a passion. It's not just brewing sake. It's you have to like what you do. Just reading up on you and just talking to you in general, there's an obvious passion about this stuff. And we can't thank you enough for just kind of coming on the show tonight.
Thank you guys so much.
So
What you're doing, and I'll see you on the other side.
that sounds great. And if you're not drinking beer, start drinking beer. And if you are drinking beer, keep drinking beer. And if you've never had craft beer before, Proper Sake in Nashville, based off Ewing Avenue over by the Metro Center, right?
Pretty close, yeah.
Pretty close to it, yeah.
Pretty close.
Try those guys out. They've got great sake. They've got great beers. Nashville is booming with lots of personality and lots of talent, and Byron is one of those guys. So we can't thank him enough. And go try his spot out. Keep checking in his beers. Keep buying his stuff. Keeping him in business. And I know we're going to. And Byron, cheers to you, man. We hope you have a great one. And we appreciate you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
See you later.
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Byron,
Yeah.
thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. This is awesome.
We know that we.
Oh,
Go ahead, Mitch. Sorry.
All right. Well, I was thinking too, at some point we may just pick up I know I've got sakes I can still get that I started on my journey with sake on, and maybe we'll have a sake centric kind of episode as well, just to run through some stuff and talk about it. Just kind of like beer, but yeah.
Sake.
Absolutely. Especially, when we can drink together in person someday.
Yeah.
Like giving out some wacky stuff that I've got squirreled away in the fridge that
Ooh.
may not be mine. But
That'd be cool.
I'd be willing to try that.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
But yeah,
Byron, thanks again, man.
thank you guys.
We appreciate it.
It was nice to talk to you. And
Yeah,
You too.
I'll see you guys soon, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, man. Appreciate you again.
Okay.
See you, man.
See ya.